Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Andy, and welcome to this week's Team Kentucky Update. Today, we're going to talk about some economic development news. We're going to celebrate bourbon. We're going to talk about passenger safety on our roads and get an update on today's blood drive from our First Lady. Earlier this week, we announced continued momentum of the state's metals sector as Kentucky Aluminum Processors celebrated its groundbreaking of a $40 million aluminum processing facility in Russellville. This is a project that's going to create 75 good-paying jobs. The new facility, which will operate as a joint venture between Tri-Arrows Aluminum and Tennessee Aluminum Processors, will serve as an aluminum recycling facility that will process metal and scrap material from Tri-Arrows Casting Center at nearby Logan Aluminum. I want to thank the company's leadership, actually both companies' leadership, for coming together on this project, and we look forward to their success in Logan County. I also want to highlight one of our state's signature industries, Kentucky Bourbon. September is National Bourbon Heritage Month, and the state of this industry has never been stronger. Entering this year, Kentucky's bourbon industry has seen a $9 billion annual economic impact and has generated more than 23,100 Kentucky jobs with a payroll well over $2 billion. I'm happy to be joined here today by representatives from a couple of the companies investing in our state to help us celebrate Bourbon Heritage Month. First, we have Wally Dant, president and distiller at Log Still Distilling, as well as, do we have Christy with us? Just Wally Dant, president and distiller of Log Still Distilling. 2 years ago, I joined Wally, his family, and a great team to cut the ribbon at Log Still in Nelson County, which then was a $60 million investment with nearly 150 new jobs. This is a project that truly represents the potential of the industry, with bourbon production, an amphitheater hosting a great concert series, a bed and breakfast, and many other amenities. Projects like Log Still mean economic growth as well as significant tourism. I'd like to invite Wally up to say a few words about Log Still's incredible success in Kentucky. We haven't aged in 2 years.
No, we haven't. Thank you, Governor.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Good afternoon, and thank you for having me here, Governor. I appreciate it. One of our goals when we started out as a company was to be, faith-filled, family-focused, community-friendly, and if we felt we did all of those three things well, then our bourbon should be pretty damn good when it comes out. And, through the help of the governor and his administration, we worked to fulfill that family dream of ours. And you've seen a few of those pictures up here about our facility and kind of where we've gone. Initially, we started out thinking that we would build a facility for around $12 million. And in southern Nelson County, we ended up spending in that first phase almost $30 million on construction and creating 32 jobs in Gethsemane, Kentucky. We then dreamed a little bit bigger and applied for, with the help of the administration and the governor, some economic and tourism incentives to create phase two, where we said we would spend another $24 million to really try to create an amphitheater, as the governor discussed, a restaurant, and other tourist attractions there on campus. We actually spent another $29 million in construction costs, creating another 55 jobs in total there on at Gethsemane. So a total of around almost 80 jobs there on campus. The reason I think we've been as successful as we have been is really, I think, due to the governor and kind of the way he thinks and the way he operates as a leader. And he really works to collaborate with private businesses in the bourbon industry, whether it's mine, whether you're going to hear from Western Kentucky Distilling as well, to really allow us to flourish in a great environment. And the governor, the legislature, KDA, all working hand in glove together, in particular in this Bourbon Heritage Month that we're in, uh, is really a testament to his leadership and embracing of the bourbon industry. I'll give you an example of that. I mean, they've worked collaboratively to allow us distillers to have a satellite tasting room, and we're a benefactor of that. We just opened in August our Monks Road Boiler House restaurant and tasting room in Louisville, Kentucky, creating another 25 jobs. And so when you do things like that, Governor, it really makes a difference, not only in our community where our distillery is, but now where our satellite tasting room is up in Louisville. And so, you know, and all of those things go to create, hopefully great tourist attractions. So if you look at the Kentucky Bourbon Trail and kind of what it's done for Kentucky, and you're always embracing of that, and you saw the figures that he talked about, but I can tell you about ours. We've have about 55,000 visitors a year to our distillery, and soon to be in our tasting room. We expect that to double over this course of the next year. And so, those economic impacts to us being able to create great jobs is just part of what this administration has done for us. We can't begin to thank you enough, not only from the bourbon industry, certainly from Log Still, but me personally. So thank you again,
Appreciate it.
Governor.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
all you've done.
Good to see you, my friend.
Yep.
Log Still is an incredible place to visit. I would call it the Disney World of bourbon, but Disney World is trademarked, so I will definitely not do that. But what an incredible place that continues to grow and grow and grow. Also with us today is Jacob Call, Western Kentucky Distilling COO and Master Distiller. Now today, he brought a special guy with him, Ron Call, Jacob's father, who is headed to the Kentucky Bourbon Festival this weekend in Bardstown to celebrate his 50 years in the distilled spirits industry. Ron has dedicated his career to Kentucky's signature industry, and he started with Jim Beam brands alongside his father. One of his mentors was the late Booker No. Ron, thank you for everything you've done in this industry over the past 5 decades. He is now also Colonel Ron Call, so we'll make sure that we use his new title. Just under a year ago, Western Kentucky Distilling officially opened a $30 million distillery in Ohio County, creating 35 new full-time jobs. This is the first distillery to operate in that county since Prohibition and has a capacity to distill over 50,000 barrels each year. And Jacob is now an 8th-generation distiller, which is incredible. Jacob, if you come on up here and tell us a little bit more about this great creation of yours, we've been really excited to watch it from groundbreaking to reality. Thank you.
Thank you. So, as the governor said, I'm Jacob Call. I'm an 8th-generation Kentuckian, as well as an 8th-generation master distiller. Today, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our distillery there in Beaver Dam, Kentucky, the Western Kentucky Distilling Company. We broke ground on Election Day, November 2022. Since then, we've managed to hire 26 full-time employees, working our numbers up, seems like every single day. 9 months later, we started distilling in July of 2023. Since then, we've managed to make 60,000 barrels of bourbon and rye whiskey a year. And technically, we're the second largest 100% Kentucky-owned distillery. We are well on our way of exceeding that $28 million initial investment. It seems like we're building new things every single day at the distillery. We're 24/7 operation. We have 81 acres. We have 5 barrel aging warehouses at our distillery, and we build a new warehouse about every 4 months to store our bourbon and rye whiskey. The other thing that we do, we buy all local 100% Kentucky corn. We purchase about 500,000 bushels of corn every year. And then we also, our byproduct, we give that away to farmers for local cattle feed. Recently, we were a founding member of the Kentucky Estate Whiskey Alliance, which was established by the University of Kentucky. And we plan on growing some of our own grains at the distillery for a true estate whiskey. So that's kind of what we've been doing. So what we have planned in the future, we just laid out our plans for our new bottling facility. It'll be a 20,000 square foot bottling facility. So we're making all this whiskey. We got to put it in bottles and get it out there for the public. The next thing that we are looking to do next year, we're working on launching our own brand to help market our distillery and Western Kentucky. We also received last week initial design plans for our visitor center, as well as an event space that'll be located on the property. We just signed a lease for another 10 acres right in front of the distillery to put that facility. So none of these things are possible without the support from the governor's office. And really, it's what makes, when you say Team Kentucky, it really is Team Kentucky. So I want to thank the governor. I want to thank the Kentucky Economic Development Office, the Department of Local Government, all our Ohio County local officials that really make all these things happen. Without all of you guys, none of it would be possible. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Well, thank you, Jacob. And what exciting news about the growth of Western Kentucky Distilling. Their location is also helping us in other ways. They were the first company to come into the industrial park where they're located, which is a really great site that we are now showing a number of other prospects. When we get that first company into these sites, the one I talked about earlier, the Kentucky Aluminum Processing, same thing, the first one in a new industrial park. It really opens it up, and it gives people the ability to come in and see a little bit about what it would be like to do business there. So this is going to be a distillery that not only brings tourists to Ohio County, but helps grow more jobs in multiple industries in Western Kentucky. And thank you all both for being here, and thank you both for making delicious products. For the past several months, I've also been proud to make positive announcements in our fight against this state's drug epidemic. By working together, we are removing illicit drugs off our streets, and we are decreasing overdose deaths. In 2023, we had a nearly 10% decrease from the previous year, thank goodness. We're building a new Kentucky home, one where our children are better protected from addiction. Lives are being saved from overdoses, and the state's recidivism rate has been reduced. Together, we've moved our state forward, and today we're furthering that momentum by awarding $1.7 million from the federal Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant. This money is going to 11 law enforcement agencies and drug task forces and one nonprofit organization. One of these agencies is the Kentucky State Police, which is receiving $372,000 in funding. Just a couple weeks ago, we announced that in July, KSP's drug seizures amounted to over $9.6 million in illicit drugs, the largest amounts seized in 1 month in recent history. We have a video message today from KSP discussing how this grant award is going to further their efforts to create safer communities across the Commonwealth.
Kentucky State Police is focused every day on removing illegal drugs off Kentucky streets. In July, we were proud to announce that our drug seizures amounted to over $9.6 million, which is the largest amount seized in 1 month in recent history. And by working together, the Commonwealth has reduced overdose deaths the last 2 consecutive years. But there is more work left to do, and KSP is not taking our eye off the ball. Thanks to today's grant award, we will be able to continue with our forward trajectory and focus our efforts in areas with high drug abuse, such as Lexington, Louisville, Owensboro, Northern Kentucky, London, and Bowling Green. While our drug task force officers partner with other local and federal agencies to develop and implement response, investigations, and programming. I am proud of the work all law enforcement and first responders are doing to create a better, safer Kentucky for future generations. Thank you to Governor Beshear for his continued support of our agency and his commitment to saving Kentuckians and their families from drug abuse and overdoses. A new Kentucky home is being created, and KSP is honored to be part of it. Thank you.
We owe all of our law enforcement officers a debt of gratitude, and we pray daily for their safety, especially all of those in Laurel County continuing a manhunt for someone who must be brought to justice. I was there this morning meeting with them. Very grateful. Everyone from the sheriff's office to the City of London Police, to KSP, to the FBI, to Fish and Wildlife, and so many others that are there. We have some of the best technology. We have some of the best trained individuals out there. We have bloodhounds that are in from Illinois. Truly, everybody doing everything they can to assure that community that we're going to bring this individual to justice, but also ensure their safety in the coming days. And to our drug and narcotic task forces, thank you for making our communities stronger, our streets safer, and our nation more secure. Next, I'd like to share some good news today about positive trends we're seeing in highway safety and to encourage everyone to help us close this year in a way that saves more lives. If you look at last year, by this same week, we had sadly lost 563 people to crashes. Most of them are fellow Kentuckians. So far this year, we're trending 15% lower with 477 lost in fatal crashes. And injuries from crashes have also had a decrease of 11%. While I wish we didn't lose anyone on our roads, these numbers are encouraging, and they say that there is more that we can do. And we have to remember, they're not just numbers. We're talking about fewer people thus far this year than last year mourning a lost loved one. Fewer people this year than last year recovering from a difficult injury. Ensuring Kentuckians can get where they need to go safely has always been a goal of Team Kentucky, and we're grateful for the efforts of the Transportation Cabinet and the Kentucky Office of Highway Safety. I want to thank each and every Kentuckian for what they do every day on the road to keep others safe. I was just behind a car today, veering a number of ways, probably texting, and the semi next to it blew its horn, and that person popped up, you could tell, and all of a sudden straightened out. That's one small thing that we can do on the roads. The other is don't pick up that phone at all when you're in the car, and make sure that everyone has their seatbelts on. Let's keep it up and remember and remind others that wearing a seatbelt is the number one thing we can do to reduce fatalities. Over the past 2 years, seatbelt use has increased 3.4%, according to the Kentucky Transportation Center at UK. So far this year, we're seeing the same positive trend. We're seeing gains in some rural counties that can be attributed to the successful High Five Rural Seatbelt Program. That's a program that's being run through the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. It's a program that combines education, enforcement, and engineering efforts to improve and promote seatbelt use in rural counties where our seatbelt usage is just lower statistically. We don't want any families to experience losing someone to a roadway crash, most of which are preventable. Again, you don't know how anybody else is going to drive. And so putting on that seatbelt is your best defense to anyone driving recklessly or being impaired, or maybe just that accident. So when you get in, knowing you can only control what you can control in the car, make sure that you put your seatbelt on. And then please buckle up and put the phone down. Just some small things we can do to protect each other. For the latest driving tips and how to stay safe on the road, visit KentuckyHighwaySafety.com. To further promote roadway safety, starting this Sunday, Kentucky is joining national efforts to protect some of our most vulnerable Kentuckians during National Child Passenger Safety Week. I want to share a surprising statistic that came out in the National Highway Traffic Administration report that was just published, and this is one that should concern all of us. It shows that 46% of car seats are being misused around the United States. I mean, think about that. We have car seats to protect our children. I think everyone wants to protect their child when they're putting them in a car seat. That means we should really think about the fact that so many of them are being misused and get the information out there, because each of those little kiddos is a child of God. And I still remember the first time we put Will in a child seat leaving the hospital. Just putting him in was one of the most scary things I had ever done. And then I drove about 12 miles an hour home. If we think about the things that are unavoidable on the road, they can scare us. But making sure our kids are not just in their car seat, but in the right car seat and it being used in the right way is fully within what we can do. Here are some steps that Kentuckians can take that will help us get there. First, talk to an expert. Child passenger safety technicians can help educate parents, guardians, and caregivers about the right seats for their kids and how to install them. Technicians in your area can be found on the NHTSA's website that is listed on this slide. Number 2, attend a free checkup event. Events are scheduled throughout the year all across the state where professionals can check your child's seat to make sure it's installed correctly. I think we went to the fire station that at that time was checking them. There are several happening next week in places like Lebanon, Prestonsburg, and Louisville. And third, learn more about the right kind of car seat based on your child's age and size. To find out more about checkup events and car seat resources, visit KentuckyHighwaySafety.com and click the Safety Programs tab. Folks, this won't take you long. It's a couple of websites. It's maybe spending a few minutes at a checkup. But if 46% of people are misusing car seats, it might be you. And I know you want what's best for your child. So here are some free resources to help make that happen. And finally today, our Team Kentucky All-Stars are going to be announced by my Team Kentucky All-Star, and that's our First Lady. I know, I'm so smooth.
That was something.
Yeah,
I
thank
wasn't
you.
going to say anything. Good afternoon. I would thank Andy, but I don't know. Last month, the American Red Cross announced that our country is facing yet another emergency blood shortage. The national blood supply has fallen by more than 25% since July 1st. The Red Cross asked for people across the country to step up to donate to make sure all patients can continue to receive the life-saving transfusion or plasma they need after an illness or injury. I'm proud to say that Team Kentucky answered the call once again. This morning, Andy and I rolled up our sleeves to donate, and people from across state government and the Frankfort community have joined us. So we are naming each of today's donors as this week's Team Kentucky All-Stars. You all are living out our values, making sure we can take care of our neighbors in the moment they need us the most. One thing that I have learned is that both blood and plasma have a shelf life. So even if you have given blood once and for some reason that blood was not needed, it can no longer be used after a certain date. So please donate. If you weren't able to donate today, you can still participate in this initiative. Remember, all you have to do is go to governor.ky.gov/give blood. If you live in Frankfort, there are 8 more blood drives scheduled in September alone, all sponsored by a personnel cabinet. The next one is tomorrow. Our website also includes a link where you can sign up to donate at a location near you anywhere in the United States. Each of us has the power to save a life, whether it's someone who's been through a traumatic accident or somebody who is facing an illness and needs this treatment. Again, we encourage everyone to visit governor.ky.gov/give blood to sign up to donate. There are options no matter where you live. As always, we want to thank our partners at the American Red Cross and the Kentucky Blood Center who make these drives possible. I also want to thank our personnel cabinet staff for their work to organize the blood drives throughout the year. Last, but certainly not least, I'm also thankful to all of the other first spouses and governors who have joined us in promoting blood donations or who are planning to do so over the next few months. It's inspiring to see how we can all come together and use the power of the governor's office to help everybody, because everybody is our neighbor. Thanks again to everyone who donated today. My words were not wording. Let's try that again. Thanks to everyone who donated today, our newest Team Kentucky All-Stars.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think about the fact that just yesterday I was at Norton Children's Hospital in Louisville to recognize Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month, and this morning I'm in Laurel County, where people were shot and injured and rushed to the hospital on Saturday. That's both individuals that regularly need transfusions and we care about and we want to support, and those that are in terrible situations that without us giving the life and gift that is blood wouldn't recover. Proud to say 4 of the 5 people that were shot on Saturday are now out of the hospital, and the other is expected to survive. But from being somebody that's had friends in these mass shootings that did not go as well, this is a blessing even in a really terrible situation. So with that, we'll open it up to questions. We have 2 reporters in person and 1 virtually. So we'll start with Tom.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon to you. We've had, this is last count, 4 school threats done by students. Well, 4 have been charged, arrested. Are there any more resources you can bring to bear to have this horrible rash of the school threats stop?
Yeah, what we've seen over the past week and months is sadly all types of threats. So significant threats on schools across the Commonwealth. Of course, the actual shooting that we saw in Laurel County on the interstate, some other smaller incidents that have occurred throughout the state. I'm proud of the work our schools have done. The most recent report on school safety shows a significant increase over the past several years with SROs on campus. The design that schools have worked on, changes in security, have come a long way. I was in the new school that Christian County is building just yesterday, and they'll have not 1 but 2 different security points that individuals would have to get through. And sadly, this week we've seen multiple individual threats on schools. And then you got these awful people from around the country that send them to every school in a state. We knew we were going to get some threats, 2-3 days ago, because they were coming through Ohio. And they even called us to say, expect these. That type of intent to create fear or the intent to do harm is just awful. I know it's an evil that is currently in our society. And I'd like to think that we can both make our schools more secure, but also have a real conversation about doing something. I mean, just doing something. Red flag law might not have stopped all of these, but it could stop some of them and could stop some in the future. Florida has a red flag law. This isn't a blue state law. It's just one where we trust our courts to protect people's Second Amendment, but to step in before someone is murdered. We trust our courts with the custody of our children. Certainly, we ought to be able to trust our courts in this situation where law enforcement presents evidence that something really violent is about to happen. Karen.
Thank you, Governor. I have 2 actually. One is the mayor in London had posted that some students were still having internet difficulties. We know several schools were closed in that area because of the shooting. How far have we come since COVID, and what still needs to happen to ensure that all students have internet in case they need to do virtual learning? And then the other is, are you willing to share your thoughts on this week's debate?
So as far as virtual learning, we still have a ways to go to get every home and every business connected to high-speed, affordable internet. The great thing is the funding is coming. We just keep pushing to ultimately get access to using it. We have over $1 billion sitting in the bank account right now from the federal government, from the BEAD program, but we have yet to be authorized to put it into the ground. I'm grateful for this money. It has been 2 years since the bill was signed, and it's time to get that final approval so that we can move forward. Part of the NTI challenge in the area where the shooting was is internet access. Another part is it was totally unexpected. Now, a lot of what schools want to do, especially when the weather's getting rough and know that a storm is coming in, is to get the resources in the children's hands, and also to give the educators the time to maybe repackage the curriculum in a way that works through NTI. Neither of those was possible with how quickly this one happened. However, some of the districts are moving in that direction. They also have a challenge that reopening, and we certainly helped Rockcastle reopen safely. When they do, we'll need the parents' buy-in, because school systems will get penalized if the amount of students that show up that day is lower than normal. That goes into the funding formula that can harm them down the road. And that's, I mean, the tail shouldn't be wagging the dog in that way. So we've got some things we need to look at on the provision of internet side, which we are, and the money is there. We also need to look at, when these occasions occur, schools not being penalized for trying to safely get back in, but understand that some parents are going to want to make some different decisions the day after, and maybe the day after that. On the debate, I think that the vice president did a good job. She appeared presidential. She offered real plans. And I think there was a stark contrast between someone who is offering us hope for a better future and someone that is intently focused on the past. I was also pretty worried about a lot of misinformation that the former president repeated that weren't ever even rumors. And to get some of it out there in ways that could cause certain groups of people to be picked on or even harmed, I think is unacceptable for anyone running for president, and certainly below what a former president should be. All right, on the line, we have Austin Horn from the Herald Leader.
Thank you, Governor. I was just curious about the recent appointment of Will Stacy to the PSC. I was wondering what you saw in him that led to that appointment. And also, there wasn't like a public announcement. I think it was made 8 days ago or so, and was just wondering when that was coming, and if that was a change from procedure, or if that was just normal procedure.
Well, our normal procedure is we don't put a lot of releases out about new appointments. At the PSC, we may or may not have in the past, but there certainly wasn't anything intentional in that. Will Stacy has been a business owner. He's been a county judge executive. As you look back in time, we believe that running a county, for instance, is really good potential training and background. I think about Dave Armstrong and his time in the Public Service Commission and the good job that he did. I believe that Will has industry experience and is also from an area of the state that needs representation on the PSC. I think overall he's fair as well. He understands that our state has energy needs that have to be met. He also understands that the way that energy needs are provided is changing across the United States. So I believe he will be balanced and open and do a good job. I also know he's ready to do the work. Part of what we have to find on these boards are individuals that are up to the job that can get confirmed. And remember, there was a real chilling effect when the state Senate refused to confirm not one, but multiple appointees to the PSC who are more than qualified. All right, that is this week's Team Kentucky Update. We did it in 30 minutes. I will endeavor to be this brief in the future. Thank you all very much.